Well, we have ourselves a 4x in 1 week. And quite honestly, I'd say I'm surprised. I would say I'm surprised that ore goes from sub $100 to almost $500 in the course of a week. But, who's to say how long it would have taken? I think in different circumstances, it could have been a lot faster. It could have been a lot longer. But ore is now up, getting close to $500. I had my price target at 1,000. I want to talk about why it's gaining a lot more traction, where it is right now, and where it's headed moving forward. There's not going to be a whole deep dive video. I've done plenty of videos on how to mine ore. I've done a full tutorial on how to mine ore, 5 different ways that you can take advantage of the ecosystem. I've talked about the deep dive of ore and how it works, what the entire idea is, the mechanics that play. And I've done a follow-up video a couple of days ago talking about why I thought ore was going to $1,000. But I want to kind of highlight what is happening on the bigger mind share space. What is happening on CT? What is starting that traction? Because mind you, even when we talked about ore going to $1,000, it was sub 200. Now we're at $480 or whatever it was, the price earlier today. So a lot of exciting things. If you're bullish on ore, smash up the like. If you're new here, my name is Alex, talk about crypto news, crypto passive income. If you enjoy content like that, consider subscribing. You enjoyed this video, smash up the like. Without further ado, I'll let you move the video. First thing let's talk about is the price of ore. And I'll be completely transparent in the fact that I personally think, even though I'm extremely bullish on ore, it is dangerous to try to top last. Just my 2 cents. But in the end, when you get in, if you believe something is going to a certain price, for example, I believe from a fundamentals revenue perspective, ore should be valued at $1,000. Will it go to $1,000? Maybe, maybe not. I've been saying this since it was sub $200 and we reached $440 today. But what I'm saying is, by revenue standards, if it was to be matched up, and we'll look at some examples in just a second, it should be, in theory, at $1,000. Will it get there? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But if you believe it's going to go to $1,000, whether you get in at $400, whether you get in at $357, you get in at $444, it doesn't really matter. You're getting in before it gets to that magical price, whatever that price in your head may be, and how you came to that conclusion that that price is your magical price. So here's the thing, right? I think very reasonably, it's always great to DCA. DCA is very, very important because you're always going to have market corrections, right? Imagine you just top lasted at $444 and now it's down to $394, and you kind of wish you didn't go in full size at $444. You wish maybe you got in 10% and you're buying on the way up and down. So waiting a correction, I think very reasonably, if this goes back to $300, there's going to be an amazing opportunity for myself to be able to get back in and at least to add to my position that I have on ore that I've been talking about since, sub $100. Now, when we covered ore, the problem is ore has exploded tremendously. I mean, this is ore in the course of 10 days, ore has gone up 400%. There's very, very few things right now in crypto that are going up 400%. And I would say there's probably less cryptos that you could count on one hand. You probably couldn't even count 5 of them that have done 400% gains in the course of 10 days. There's not many out there, and there's thousands to choose from. So there has been opportunity. And this, in many ways, is very, very much extended. I don't think we're going to go back to 160 unless, Bitcoin drops to 90,000 or 80,000 or something stupid. But I think we're going to see a correction. Maybe this is the correction we see down to 400, maybe down to some of these other levels of support. This is on an hourly chart, but I think a healthy correction is needed. Don't be freaking out if it does. But here's the bigger picture, right? Ore currently sits at a market cap of $162 million. Now, in comparison, when you look at ore and its revenue in the last 24 hours, this is a metric that I've talked about nonstop because it's very, very important to understand. Is ore not only has some of the highest recurring revenue, it also is one of the few protocols that actually has significant buybacks. And that is a huge, huge function that most people don't take into account, which makes the aspect of ore technically deflationary. And we'll look at what that metric looks like. But when you look at ore in the last revenues in the last 24 hours, it is above the likes of Phantom. It is above the likes of Meteora, above Radium. In fact, its revenues are five times that of Radium, which is absolutely insane to even think about. I mean, it is insane to think about when we look at the market cap of Radium. Imagine something 5 times that market cap, because of the revenue. So outside of that, the only 3 things, in fact, earlier today, Ore surpassed Jupiter in overall revenue last 24 hours, which was also insane. But Axiom and Pump.Fun are the only other projects that have more revenue. So what does that mean from a price appreciation standpoint, right? And even if you look at the fact that Jupiter right now, I mean, $80,000, $90,000 is not a whole lot in 24-hour revenue in comparison to how fast Ore has grown. It wouldn't surprise me if Ore does consistently surpass Jupiter on this current trajectory. But what would that mean? Jupiter is right now at a $1.15 billion market cap. Now, this is just hypothetical, right? Fully diluted valuation is $2.5 billion. Hypothetically, if the likes of Ore's revenue was half that, it's not even half that, right? It is more than half that. It is close to it. Even if it was half that, that would mean half the market cap of Jupiter would be $600 million. $600 million on the market cap, not fully diluted valuation, on the market cap would be about $550 million, right? Very realistically, if the revenues were half that, we're just doing revenues, right? But that's not the case. The revenues are almost matching, which is insane to consider. So if you look at the price of Ore to the price of Jupiter, that is a almost 7x from now. That is a $2,700 Ore price. $2,700. Now, let's just say you're half that. You're half that at $550 million, because we're being very, very generous. That is $1,380, $1,390. That is an insane, over $1,000, and that's why some people, even on my timeline, are saying $1,000 is FUD. And I get people are very excited. I want to be a little bit more on the reasonable side, but this is absolutely insane to consider that a project that has almost the same revenues as the likes of Jupiter is like significantly undervalued. The likes of Ore is at a $150 million market cap. The upside is tremendous. Now you take a look at Radium. Now Ore, when you look at revenue, Radium has, in the last 24 hours, revenues is almost 80,000. So what does that mean? If I'm going to do my homeschool math here, that is almost 5x. What you have with Ore is almost 5 times the revenue that you see with the likes of Radium. But guess what? Radium has a $388 million market cap. It has an $800 million fully diluted valuation. So even if a protocol that has 5 times the revenue was to be valued at the same price of Radium right now, it would be close to $1,000. And that's generous. That is very, very generous. And this is what people simply cannot get and cannot understand. And that's the most annoying and frustrating part on my end, because this opportunity, this has been here for 10 days. The numbers continue to increase, but Ore didn't break into the top 5 just 24 hours ago. It's been in the top 5 for days, and yet people continue to ignore it. And it's too late for people to ignore. And that is why it has gone from sub $200 to $440 today. It has become too late for people to ignore, or at least most people. If you're Thread Guy or White Whale, who ignores my DMs or ignores the very, very basic introduction to the likes of Ore and missing out on a 4x in the course of a week, then you kind of, not sorry. It's your choice whether or not you follow up and do some due diligence on some of these protocols that are literally begging for the price to go up, and you are sidelined the entire way up. Now, here's the other thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. You can't really tell because Phantom doesn't have a token, but Phantom has a valuation of $3 billion with a B, and or has more revenue than Phantom in the last 24 hours. In fact, it has more fees than Phantom, also, same metric here, in the last 24 hours. So you're telling me Or Protocol has more fees, more revenue than a project, than a company valued at $3 billion? I mean, it's not even worth trying to put a price market cap because there's no Phantom token. But this isn't even worth the conversation. I mean, you look at something like Or, it would be at $10,000. So the insanity, this is, it's hard to kind of put it into words as to why Or, I think the reason Or is not at $1,000 right now is because mainstream has yet to truly catch on. It slowly started to catch on. Well, I'll show you a couple of examples. But I think when Or does hit at $1,000, you're going to have the people that are in Solana, your Jakey, your thread guys, your Rasmers, you name your favorite Solana meme coin trencher, pump fund, trader, whatever you want to call him. By the time they're posting about Or, that's when Or is going to be at $1,000 because they're already too late. Because here's the thing is Or is fair launched. It doesn't have KOLs. There's no incentivization for some of these paid KOLs to talk about Or because they don't get anything from it. Now, obviously, it helps them if you're the likes of Frank, where you buy $250,000 worth of Or at $130. It pays to talk about it, to see your portfolio go up 3-4x in the course of a week. Then, at that point, you're pumping your own bags, and, well, your bags are pretty full. So here's the big takeaway. Or, there's a ton of metrics coming to Or that are making it more legible and more easy for people to understand. I think this is going to be a huge key to a lot of people because there's still people out there that don't really know how this thing works. And the more data, the more analytics that are put together, more trackers, more of these kind of websites that provide a lot of this useful insight, it's going to be much more easier to onboard people, to let them understand and know what exactly is going on and why the price goes up. Because price going up doesn't mean anything if there's no reason behind it. It's just price going up. It's the same thing with when you look at meme coins. That's why 99% of your favorite meme coins are down 99%. Because price going up doesn't mean anything. It's a meme coin. Price going up with Or means something, and people have to understand what it means and why it does what it does. And I think trackers like this, data like this, make it that much more helpful. So the last thing I want to really highlight before we get into some of these metrics, one, you're seeing a lot more people who are going to come out saying they were sidelined by the likes of Or. You're already kind of seeing this a little bit. You saw this very much with the likes of Zcash. A lot of people sidelined with Zcash. It sucks. Yes. You know, if you watch my videos, you're subscribed. I talked about it, $188. Plenty of opportunity. Same thing I talked about Dash early at $44. It went to like $150, $160. So there's plenty of opportunities in this market, even though it is very bearish. So here's the thing, right? This was literally given to the likes. Frank D. Gods was very bullish. He jumped in. Thread Guy was given this opportunity on the 29th of October. There was plenty of time. He even responded, but it doesn't look like there was any follow through. Doesn't look like there's anything that came through. And this is what sideline, if you look up the definition of sideline, that is what you're going to see. When you look at opportunities, and mind you, I'm not going to go into all my DMs, but the white whale, individual I highly respect, you know, I sent him a DM and I said, hey, I think this is worth taking a look at. This is worth, this is worth, just want to put a bug in your ear. You know, I'm sure you get a lot of DMs. I'm sure you get a lot of people reaching out to you. But, you know, I said, hey, here's just something, right? I said, hey, just want to put a bug in your ear. I know you're bullish on Project Solana ecosystem. I'm sure you've heard about Or, but if you haven't, I definitely recommend a peek. Very, very simple. This was on Wednesday. The price is up 3x. So even some of your best so-called traders in the crypto space are still refusing to take a look at what Or has done, how well it's performing. And by the time they look at it, they're going to simply be too late. And that is going to be unfortunate, but fortunate for those who got in early. And this is what you're going to start seeing. You're going to see a lot more people, ton of wallets rotating from Zcash into or to $1,000 this month. A lot more people talking about opportunities in This is really going to control the timeline as the price of goes up, because everybody has bags of Solana. Everyone that left the trenches, and after pump fund, pump fund's not pumping. There's no fun in the pump. And so as more people are looking for other opportunities, they already have Solana, so why not deploy it to And that, I think, is going to be a huge, huge component to why also grows. And a lot of these guys that have Solana are going to look for a place to put it. And where else than other than a project that continues to surprise people. So the other thing that I want to briefly highlight, you're seeing the amount of holders, the trajectory of holders continuing to grow dramatically. I mean, this is just in the course of a day from 18,600. We're sitting at 1,300 holders in just the course of one day. This continues to go up. And this is the other metric that I want to highlight, is the supply of on the market is extremely limited. An extremely limited of supply of on the market. And when you look at exchanges that currently have the ability for you to trade there's really only two exchanges, BingX and LBank. Exchanges have to buy in order to allow it to be tradable. And right now, all of trading is really happening on DEXs. That's really where it is. Jupiter or maybe Orca, but Jupiter's really, on DEXs is where all the trading is happening right now with I think will gain more mainstream if it gets listed on a bigger exchange. Whether or not that happens, the biggest caveat to that is there's only 5 million that will ever be in existence. So imagine, not only do you have limited supply, a majority of is already staked. The amount that gets bought up on exchanges, that is going to cut the overall supply even more, causing a very, very quick, the amount of supply that's going to be out there is going to be very, very limited if exchanges start to try to dip their toes into this ecosystem. So there's a lot of things that are going to play a role, right? You're going to see mainstream KOLs talking about how they were sidelined. They're going to bring more attention to Maybe they're going to top blast Maybe they won't talk about being sidelined. Maybe they're just going to top blast it, expecting this to go to $1,000 and wishing that they had gotten it earlier. Maybe you're going to see people also talking about their sideline. Oh, this opportunity blew past me. Can't believe this is up 4x. Why didn't nobody tell me about it? Even more attention. We are going to start seeing a lot more metrics. People talking about how much they're making, how much price is going up, how much you can actually positively mine in order to actually grow your portfolio over time. Using these tools to your advantage, people are going to start figuring stuff like this out as it gets more simpler to understand. And the simplicity is what's going to draw adoption. So there's a lot, this could be a 30-minute video, me talking about and ranting about all the things that are lining up for the likes of to take the price higher. But that really is for you to come to your own conclusion. Where does is over? For some people, they think this is it. It's reached $440. This is a top. I got in at $80, whatever it was. I did myself a solid 6x return in the course of a week. I'm happy. Pack it up, go home. Maybe that's your mentality, and that's perfectly fine. It's a 6x at a time where Bitcoin's dropped 15%. So congratulations for you. But at the end, I think there's still a lot more gas left in the tank. I think there's a lot more opportunity when it comes to what is doing. I think this isn't necessarily the beginning, but there's still more left to the story. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Have you gotten in? Have you been mining? What are your thoughts on the next phase? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like, enjoy content like this, consider subscribing. Until next time, guys, stay invested.